So we look at the next concept of React, and that is React forms. Okay, so we look at the React forms. And what is a form? So React forms will allow you, or it allows the users to interact with the page or the web page. And for example, let's take a scenario where you are creating an application, and you want the users, you want to collect some information from the users. You want to collect some data from the users. How do you do that? You allow, you put a form, and the users can be able to fill the form and then submit. And once it is submitted, you're going to take that information and save it somewhere, maybe on the database. All right. So how do we uh, put those forms on the page? All right. So we take an example first with this app called Archive. So let's say I want to sign up. So you see, when I click on sign up, a form is displayed here where I can enter my full name, email, and whatever password, confirm password, and then I can sign up or even log in. When I log in, I have a form. I can enter my name and that, and then log in. All right. And you can even do form validation. Like for example, if I have not entered anything and then I click sign up, I should not be able to submit. I need to do some validation. It tells me full name is required or email is required, password is required, and all that. I enter my email, I enter the email here, I enter the password too, and then I don't match it. If it doesn't match, I click sign up. It should tell me password do not match. So a form is basically a way of allowing users to interact with your web page. All right. And how do we add forms like that? How do we add a form? We add a form using the form tag. We use the HTML tag called form. All right. And then after adding the form, of course, we are going to enter the data. And therefore, that data that we are entering into form, you can call it the form data. It is being managed within the components state or property, and it is updated using the set state function. We will look at that concept. So normally we use something called use state hook. All right, we use something called, so we will look into the topic of hooks, which is just, I think, after the forms. We're going to look at hooks, and we shall see what is a hook. So for now, just know that the data you are entering in form is being managed within that component, and the way we managed it is by using the component's state property, and we use the use state hook to keep track of each of the input value that has been entered on the form, so that when the input changes, for example, if I am on this page, I enter whatever I'm entering here, it should be tracked by that component. In case I delete it, the component is aware that I have deleted this, and now the field is empty. So we make sure we track each of that input on that form. And below is a code sample that you can use to create a simple form that can take just one input. Once you know how to create a simple form that can just take one input, then you can advance, you can even increase more input fields. You can include the text inputs, text area, option list, radio buttons, and all that. So what I'm going to do is to create another component, call it sign up component, and so that if you are on our app like this, you're going to have another link here called sign up, so that when you click on sign up, it should display you a sign up page which has a sign up form. Okay, so I'm going to take this code snippet or code sample, and here in our project I'm going to create another file. I call it sign up page dot js. Is that right? I press enter and that file is created, and therefore I'm going to add this component. So here I have a component called my form. Let me change it to some meaningful name like sign up, and again all the component must start with capital letter sign up. That's why we are starting it with capital S. If it is small s, it will give you an error somewhere, so we make sure it is capital letter. Then below that we declare a state variable to hold the input value that is entered on the form, and this variable we are going to declare it using the use state. So this use state is a type of a hook which allows you to keep track of any data that is within this component called sign up. Alright, so the way we use this use state hook is that we have the variable name. So let's say when you are signing up, you put in your full name. So when you get the full name, we want to store it in this variable called full name. So this is just a variable name. Then we are going to say there is this method called set full name. So we set full name, all right, and we assign it to a use state. So this use state will be able to keep track of this full name here. Whatever data is entered in that field, it will be being tracked with this variable here. Then we have a function that is called handle change. Then we have a function called handle submit. Then inside here we return an HTML form. And how do we declare a form? We use the form tag. This is an HTML form tag that is used to declare a form. So here we have a label, enter your full name. Let me just say enter your full name. That is what the user would see to be able to know what is needed of them. So here we have the value full name. Then after creating this form, we are going to export it. Don't worry if you have not understood some things. I'm going to explain them after we just display the form. Export default. And what are we exporting? We are exporting this component called sign up. So after we've created this component called sign up, we have exported it. We should come something I've forgotten here. Yeah, this should be set full name. After exporting it, we should now come and add the link, another link here. So I'm going in my navigation bar, I need to add another link and then say to slash sign up. When the path is sign up, I need to add a style for it. color white, then I call it sign up. So now when you can see the sign up is here, but now when you click, nothing happens because why? We have not added the routing for it. So it just changes the path there. But now after the path changes, it tries to go to the routing, which is in the main upload. Yes, it does not have the route for the sign up. So the last route here we have is the post. So we need to add that route, and before we add the route, let us import the sign up from the sign up page file. After importing it, now we can add the route for it. So it has a route, the path. So inside here we define path. So when the path is slash sign up, then which element should be displayed? So we display the element. We display which element? We display the sign up. Alright, so the path is now configured. Now after saving it, you can see now when you click on sign up, there is this form, basic form here. There is an input field, there is a label. So we have enter your full name, and then you can enter the full name here. So maybe say Samson. Then when I click submit, it alerts Samson or something like that. So these just two basic form. But then you can add more styles to it to make it even look more better than the way it is looking here. Alright, so you can even add more input fields to make sure you arrive at this goal. A form like this looks more professional than this one here. But before I even go to adding more of the elements or even styling it, I want to make sure that we understand how the code in this sign up form. So here we are basically declaring a function, a component, which is sign up. Below it, we are declaring a constant variable, constant variable called full name, which is a use state basically. Then we have the handle change event. So there is this function called handle change. What this function does is that it keeps track on this input field. For example, now it is an empty. When I start typing it, that event of typing is what we are calling it change. So once this change happens, it should get whatever I have entered here and assign it to this value. So it should set the full name to whatever value I have entered on the input field. So this is what this method does, or this function does. The next function is called handle submit. So now after you have entered your data and you click on submit, once you hit this button, what should happen? So maybe you want to send this data to your backend, and then the backend will take it and add it to the database. So you can call the API in the background, or maybe you just want to do a simple alert like the way we are doing it here. You want to alert the user. So whatever thing or event, so here we are looking for the click event, and therefore we are having this function called handle submit. How do you want to handle a submit? So for our case now, we're just doing a simple alert. Then below here now we are actually returning the HTML form of it. So in this form we have on submit event, and on this on submit we assign the method which should handle the submit once the button is clicked. So we are calling this method called handle submit. And then we have a label, enter your full name. This is the label that is displayed here. Then beside it we put the input field, and there are so many types of input fields. There is text field, there is an email input, there is a phone input, there is text area. So forms, you see, when you go to HTML, let me go to W3 schools, and when you click on HTML and you click on forms, where is forms here? Yeah, forms. You can see that form has so many input elements, or input types, I mean. It has a lot of input types. So one of the input type could be button, checkbox, file, image, number, text, date. So many input types. So what we are using now, we are using input type text, but you can use any of those. All right. Then we define the type of it here. Then the value, what is the value that is going to be here? The value is going to be whatever has been entered, which is in the full name. Then on change, once there's any change on this field, a change could be like the user started typing, or they have deleted some letter, or whatever change is on this, just get that change and call this method called handle change. So once this method is called, this method will take that value which has been entered and set it to the full name. All right. And then now, of course, we have the submit button, which is what we are seeing it here. You can even change the text if you like. So that is all about adding a basic form. I will give room for questions in case you have a question to ask before even I can proceed. Any question?
So I think those formats are the same. It's a matter of just changing the name or changing the things, but the syntax remains the same.
Yes, exactly. So the syntax is just basically the same. The only thing you have to work on it is the styling to make sure it looks good. You add some title and all that.
It's okay.
All right, so that's okay. And then I wish us to pause here. Then tomorrow we still repeat the concept of forms, how to add now the multiple input elements, and then even style it more better, bring it to the center and all that. Then when we're done with that, we now look at the React hooks. After looking at hooks, then we will go to the backend now and see how we can create backend APIs. So let me pause this clip again.